The Healthy Sail panel is made up of some of the most sophisticated, best educated, most experienced public health officials in the world, certainly in the United States. And so when Royal Caribbean Group and Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings set about forming this panel, we took it very seriously from the first day. We said we will cut no corners, we will spare no expense, we will not hurry the panel. They set their own timeline, and look, the results speak for themselves. This is a 70-point set of recommendations that touch upon just every single facet of a cruise operation, not just on board, but what happens when we get to our destinations, what happens at embarkation, disembarkation. It's as comprehensive as it can be. Well, it's been a learning experience. The panel delved into areas that we didn't think they would delve into, but it was necessary in order to have this comprehensive, layered approach to preventing the virus from coming on board. And at the end of the day, that's the goal. Keep the virus off of our ships, keep the virus away from our guests and our crew. And it was a daunting mission.
At the beginning of this pandemic, there was so much unknown about the disease, how to deal with it, how to treat it, how to respond to it. And we did a lot of work ourselves, but we realized that we didn't have the full expertise. We didn't have all the knowledge to understand the science, to know where it is and where it's going. So we, together with Norwegian Cruise Line, put together this Healthy Sail panel. Made up of just amazing expertise. I mean, this is really the all-star team. Royal Caribbean, innovation is part of our DNA, and it's surprising how much that helped in this process. Probably most important was the spirit of innovation, and it was something the panel embraced. So innovation in how we do things, how we set up the protocols, what matters, how we balance, because what the panel did was take a layered approach to this. They didn't look for a silver bullet, they looked for a series of things. And using innovation, you can say, oh, well, if you can do this, that's better than this, and those kinds of things. It was really wonderful to watch. I think the panel understood from day one that we wanted to be not at the minimum, we wanted to be as best practices. And they challenged themselves, they challenged each other to constantly make sure that we kept that objective in mind. We've even had the CDC as a very strong participant, sending 2 very senior people to participate in this process so that we're getting the very best information that's available anywhere on Earth. From the very beginning, we set out and said there are 4 separate things we need to be focused on. One is getting to the ship and making sure that we are keeping, to the extent physically possible, COVID off the ship in the first place. The second one is when we're on the ship, how do we control and make sure that there's not transmission once on board if somehow a case gets through all the screening. But the destinations is equally important. And so one of the focuses, of the third focus, was what do we do with the destinations? How do we handle shore excursions? How do we make sure that we're not doing anything to hurt the communities that we serve, and that we're not picking up anything from those communities that would hurt our guests and our crew? And then lastly, we have to have a process, a pre-agreed process, so we know what happens, because with the best protocols in the world, there are likely still at some point to be cases, and we need a proper way to handle them so that there's no issue. It's done in advance. Aha, we have a case, here's how we handle it, and we move on.